Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2014 State of the City Luncheon and Program. My name is Sunny Santa Ines, and I'm very honored to be the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Bellflower, and I'll be your MC for today's program. The theme for this year's State of the City is Building a Better Bellflower, BBB for short, not uh, Better Business Bureau, Building a Better Bellflower. So the takeaway for today is, at least when you leave, remember that BBB stands for Building a Better Bellflower. We appreciate all of you coming today as we take a look at the accomplishments in the city during the year 2013. After lunch, our mayor, Mayor Dundon, will be presenting the accomplishments for 2013, and he'll also lay out the plans for 2014 and beyond. I want to emphasize that it's not only the investment of money that helps us in building better Bellflower. It's also the people, the investment of your time. We are so fortunate that the city of Bellflower has so many wonderful nonprofit organizations and volunteer groups that work in the city. Though we can spend the whole day recognizing all these groups, we'll be paying special recognition to one very special group today. But in the meantime, if you belong, that means if you work, if you volunteer, if you're a member of any nonprofit organization, a service club or volunteer group, please stand up to be recognized. Thank you so much for all that you do in the city. But before we get started, I'd like to ask Ryan Verwise, the leader of Kingdom Cause Bellflower, one of the groups that I mentioned earlier, to lead us into our invocation. Ryan?
Good morning. There are a couple of reasons we do invocations at events like this before we head into the business of the day. And I want to highlight just a couple of them today. The first is we do it because we recognize the common blessings that we share. And so we stop at the beginning of events like this to recognize those blessings. And the second reason we do this is because we recognize that the challenges that we face, the challenges that we face as individuals and as a community, we can't handle on our own. And we need to recognize that we need power outside of ourselves to deal with that. And so before we go into a time of invocation, I just would invite you in the silence to take a few moments. Reflect first on what is something that a blessing that you're thankful for related to Bellflower. So it might be a particular neighbor, might be a particular business, something that you love about our community. And I'd like you to reflect on that in the silence. And then second, think of something that you feel is a challenge that we face. And I'd like you to just in the silence to think about that challenge, and then I'll lead us in prayer. So take a few moments, a few seconds in the silence to think of what is that blessing you're grateful for? What's the challenge that we're facing? God, you have blessed us richly in this community, and we are grateful. God, as we, in the silence just now, thought of those things we're grateful for, thank you. Thank you for those. Thank you for our neighbors, for the businesses, for the churches, the nonprofits, the agencies that serve here. You've been really good to us. Thank you. And God, those challenges that we face, we recognize that we can't do it on our own. As individuals, we don't have the skills to face everything alone. We need each other. We need your power. So thank you for the fact that you don't leave us by ourselves. So God, as we go throughout our business, we recognize your presence with us. And God, we're grateful for the gift of good food that we're going to share and the fellowship that will happen around these tables. We give you glory. In your name we pray. Amen.
Next, I'd like to invite are one of our city's planning commissioners, Juan Garza, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be followed immediately by the rendition of the national anthem, to be led by Brandon Rodriguez and Michelle Rosales from the Bellflower Youth Cultural Arts Foundation. So please stand and join me in welcoming Juan Garza, Michelle Rosales, and Brandon Rodriguez.
Please join me as we honor our nation's flag. Place your right hand over your heart and repeat after me. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Brandon. And thank you, Juan. Please be seated. At this time, I'd like to take a moment to recognize some of our public officials and public service personnel who are with us today. As I call your name, please stand to be recognized. Now, I understand that I recognize that I'm the only person standing between you and lunch. So let's make it efficient today. So as I call each name and the person stands up, please clap your hand once. Okay? And at the very end, we'll give them a big round of applause. All right? Let's try. President George Washington. You are good. All right. First, my colleagues from the Bellflower City Council, Mayor Ray Dunn, Council Member Dan Coops, Council Member Scott Larson, Council Member Ron Schnablegger. From our partners in the Bellflower Unified School District, Board Clerk Dr. Paul Helzer, Board Member Dr. Suel Hessen, and Superintendent Brian Jacobs. From the Cerritos College Board, Board Member Bob Arthur. From, where is she? From Congressman Lito Sanchez's office, Yvette Shahinian. From the City of Downey, Council Member Mario Guerra. From Supervisor Cannabis Office, Deputy Erin Stiebel, and Deputy Steve Napolitano. I also would like to recognize the key city staff led by City Manager Jeff Stewart, City Clerk Deborah Baca, City Attorney Joe Panoni, Assistant City Manager Lee Mingle, Economic Development Director Brian Lee, Planning Director Rafael Guzman, Finance Director Tay Ree, Parks and Recreation Director PJ Malana, Public Safety Director Joel Hockman, Public Works Director Deborah Chankin. We also would like to recognize the presence of past mayors of the city of Bellflower, former Mayor Ray Smith, former Mayor Clyde Wilson. Also, I'd like to recognize the presence of our safety personnel from the Los Angeles County Fire Department, led by Battalion Chief Ricky Lewis. From the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, led by Captain Mayor Leidenheim. And to all the brave citizens who are serving in the military at this time. Thank you all for your service, and let's give them a round of applause. Thank you for joining us today in highlighting our city's accomplishments. Now, before we have our lunch, I'd like to highlight a specific group, a special group, one of the most prolific volunteer group in our community. That's Caring Connections. Caring Connections is not your run-of-the-mill organization. Their motto is their mantra is basically about collaboration. Caring Connections consists of more than 50 service organizations. And what they do is they assess the needs of the students of the Bellflower Unified School District, the parents and the students. Once they recognize the needs of these students and parents, they find a matching organization who can provide the service and resources to help those needs. Caring Connections, in partnership with Bellflower Unified School District, works with case managers at school sites to identify the families with needs and ensure that those needs are being met. Case managers are informed of the resources to the community service coordinator and to their monthly collaborative meetings. So it's all about collaboration. Service that they provide includes healthcare, medical, dental, mental health counseling, tutoring, transportation services, basic needs, and more. Last year alone, close to 5,000 individual services were provided to students and families. The following are just a small sampling of the organizations that work with Caring Connections. To develop our volunteer center, 324 students received backpacks filled with school supplies for the start of the school year. 623 families received Thanksgiving and Christmas food baskets. 388 children received Easter baskets filled with books, toiletries, and toys. In collaboration with Bellflower Noon Lions Club, 100 students received a $25 shopping spree at Kmart. 100 turkeys and 100 hams were donated to the holiday food program. And through the Bellflower Rotary Club, 60 students received a $100 shopping spree at Kmart. 70 students received a shopping spree at Payless Shoe Stores. And in conjunction with Kaiser Permanente, 50 children received free health care. To the Focus Shoe program, 100 children received shoes. And in partnership with the YMCA, that's the Los Cerritos YMCA, 10 students received a campership valued at $435 each to attend a week-long summer camp at the Y. And through the Lord's Church Caring Connections coat drive, over 600 coats, jackets, and sweaters were provided to families. And in collaboration with Rosewood Church and Kingdom Causes, over 600 toys were bought by parents, discounted at a discounted price. This is basically a program that the parents buy their toys for their children at a discounted price. So without Caring Connections, many of these needs would go unmet. Caring Connections is the vital link between the needs of the community and the service available to meet them. Without economic investment, while economic investment is essential to any community, it's truly the people, the volunteers, that help us in building a better Bellflower. So now, please join me in recognizing Caring Connections for their outstanding service to our community. So now I'd like to ask Renette Vanegas and the Board of Caring Connections to join the City Council and myself here up front for a presentation. So Renette, on behalf of the City Council and the citizens and residents of Bellflower, we'd like to present this proclamation to you for all the work that you do. So thank you, Board. Thank you for all the volunteer hours that you put into this program. Just a picture. Very good. Again, Caring Connections, thank you so much for all that you do in the community. Now, for the second best part of this program, which is lunch, I'd like to thank Cafe Camellia for providing the lunch for today. And as you will note, Cafe Camellia is undergoing a significant remodeling on their site on Bellflower Boulevard, so come and visit them. I also would like to thank all the volunteers, all those people who work for this program, White's Flower Shop, the video company, and all the staff who put this together. Thank you so much for all the work that you do. So please enjoy lunch, and after lunch, we'll get a presentation, which is the best part of the program, is the presentation of the mayor. Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Glad you can take time out of your day for the City of Bellflower's State of the City program. We've got an exciting program here for you today. And with that said, there's a couple of introductions that we forgot, and I wanted to make sure that we gave introduction properly. From Member Cristina Garcia, our Assembly person office, we have Deputy Marco Alamino over here. And then we also forgot to introduce a good friend of mine, which is past Mayor Mike Broussard. And I saw him here earlier. He's back in the back there. Mike, speaking of Mike Broussard, that name just kind of rings a bell. It's kind of why I'm up here. 3 years ago, he came to me and said that, why doesn't the city council, the mayor always do the presentation, and I started 3 years ago doing it, and this is my second time around. With that said, 3 years ago was a different kind of times than it is today. 3 years ago, I looked at what I had to do, and how am I going to put on a State of the City 3 years ago when nothing's happened? It's always doom and gloom. And it was a lot of work. We pulled it off. Staff got something together and gave a good program. We had a vision back then, and maybe that's why it was a good program. But again, we're having to do the State of the City again. Well, it was a lot of work this time. A lot of work to get to this point, to get to this presentation, to see what we had. But it was a different parameters. The parameters were we had so much stuff to talk about. as all of you aware, you're all here for a reason. You've seen the buzz through the city of Bellflower. Something is happening. And I'm here to tell you, to show you what's happening and why. It's been the vision of this council and previous councils to do hard work and figure out what to do with our small budget that we have. We have a very, we don't get a lot of money. We have a lot of struggles. And we've been kicked to the curb a lot, so to speak. I hate to say it. You know, a lot of it from the state. And we knew what we had. Well, let's work within our means, and we got to this point. And I tell you, I'm excited. My colleagues are excited. We've done a lot of work, and we're in a position where we think we're going places. And that's why I've, in the program, when I was coming up here, they asked for a slogan, and I had it changed. And I believe Bellflower's back. And that's my theme. I think Bellflower is back. And I'm here to show you why. It's not just bring a new business to town. It's the whole organization. It's the whole city. It's your electeds. We asked why you want to invest in Bellflower. We have a well-managed organization. We have all these departments. We have the right tools to get something done. We just had to find a better way to use them, and that's what I believe myself and my colleagues have done. Public safety. Let's talk about public safety. Costs money to get crime down. You can't have a city with crime going north and expect to get yourself anywhere. You know, your residents in town have to feel safe. And it's basically the investment in the community that lowers crime rates. And it gets that way with with community policing and more patrolling. We're experiencing the lowest crime rates since we ever started keeping score back in '71. Part one crime rates still keep going down, even in the down economy. Usually that's when stuff goes up. One of the main components of our public safety department is our community policing program. And what I mean by this is every one of these entities play an important role. I'm not going to go through them all, but basically, it's not just about the deputies on patrol. They're there for, when needed for the real bad stuff or the real stuff that needs to be taken care of now. But you have a probation department. You have them watching the back end as stuff transitions from the bad guys coming out of jail. You have a district attorney to go after people that can't go through the courts to try to arm wrestle them to do the right thing. We have our motor program, which is the motorcycles that patrol and to get the traffic more calmed and whatnot. I'm sure somebody's in this room probably knows them personally. Neighborhood watch is a big thing. It's, there's no city that you can hire enough deputies to keep everything under control. You have to have a good neighborhood watch program. And that's just one thing that happens, and we do. Back to our increasing patrols, we've deployed extra deputies on the street with our Measure P funds that we've just started taking in last April. Also, we got grant money for a couple of quads you see up there, kind of fun stuff, and we patrol our parks with those and the bike trail. Seems like the bad guys that hide in the nooks and crannies can only see the black and whites coming, and you can kind of sneak up on them better. It seemed like when we first got these quads that the special assignment officer deputies that ride them, they kind of say, can't we go ride these instead of the patrol car? It's a little more fun, and they're more aggressive. You may have seen them around town. But we have a good public safety department, and the sheriff department does an excellent job for us. Community service officers play an important role. It's a lot of cheaper service than having a deputy or a 40-hour car go in and write reports. We can get our traffic reports, traffic collision reports, man the substation for answer questions for our residents, and we do fingerprinting. We don't have to tie up a full-time deputy to do fingerprinting. And just lately, we've trained our community service officers to do DNA collecting, which is state-of-the-art. So now they are qualified to do that now. What I mean by increased security, we've been cammering our parks. First it was Sims Park. We put cameras on Sims Park, and then it runs a feed right to Lakewood Sheriff Station. They can monitor what's going on. So if they get a call from a resident or somebody at the park, something is not right, they can go to the camera and see exactly what's going on. They can point those cameras to the right locations. And after Sims Park was such a hit, we got more grant money and actually did Crothers Park. Now we're in the process of doing Thompson Park and get that going, so we can monitor for, people not living up to the resident standards at those locations. And again, the Neighborhood Watch. There are currently 71 Neighborhood Watch captains. That means there's 71 Neighborhood Watches in town. We have a very active Neighborhood Watch program, and they're the extra eyes and ears of our neighborhoods. And to get the first responders there when they're needed, and a lot of the Neighborhood Watch will actually, start investigations because they think something's wrong, and then they'll notify the sheriff department, and they may just monitor the situation for a while until they, see what's really going on. Let's talk about Parks and Rec. Creating new spaces. We've doubled our open spaces, you're all aware, between Palm Street and River Park. We have a proposed dog park. As an elected, I get a lot of emails, and staff gets a lot of calls saying it's time for a dog park. And so we've looked into that, and we got one proposed. The special events is something we brought back, which is the Street Fest and the food trucks and flicks that I'll get through. Here's a beautiful picture of a Riverview Park that is located next to the riverbed just north of Alondra. There's another, this is from looking from Alondra out to it. It's 16.5 acres, and it's a nice facility, unsupervised park. Palm Street Park, which is on Caltrans property at Clark and Palm Street, started with about a little acre facility, and then we morphed it into a bigger 3.5 acres. And we've done both of these parks with grant money, so it doesn't come under the general fund. We still held our own at being fiscal responsible with the money that we do take in for our residents. Thompson Park is under construction. If anybody's been by there, they'll see a construction site. Totlock Park coming in. We're doing a new thing for the little guys. Be a fenced-in area where you can go there and watch your kids, and they're in a fenced area, and you can kind of sit outside and on the bench and read or do what you do. Bellflower Dog Park is proposed at one end of Hollywood Sports. Hollywood Sports Park has some land that wasn't being used. It hasn't been used since they've been there. And we thought it'd be a good location because it's adjacent to the bike trail and the walking trail that we have where the railroad tracks that go along Flora Vista Street. And so we talked to the owners of the park, and they're willing to lease that back to us. And so that's what's in the works right now. There's an artist rendering of the site of what it would look like. It will have access from Flora Vista Street for some parking, and it'll be set up for the bigger portion would be for large dogs, and it's fenced in, so your dog, you can just return them loose if it can't get out, and then one for smaller dogs. But we'll have some restrictions about maintenance, cleanup, and what kind of dogs that can go there. And here's an artist rendering of what it may look like if you were driving by or walking by. Food trucks and flicks, these are the services, some of the services and things that we've reestablished here in town, and with the Measure P funds. We wanted to give back to the community. And as a community, a city can always balance a budget, and you just don't want to end up with just a public safety, a sheriff department, a fire department and parks that run in your community. You have to have something to give back for the community, something a little extra. And this was a great thing. We used to do movie nights here at Belmont Plaza, and we added food trucks last year and kicked it up a notch and added another movie night. So this is going to alternate with the Street Fest. Street Fest also we have 4. It's going to alternate with the food truck and flicks. So for 8 weeks in a row, we're going to have something for the people. And as you can see, this draws 4,800 and was 3,000 in the food trucks and flicks. It draws a lot of attendance. We get a lot of good job coming at you for doing things like this. And I think it's bringing the community back together. You can have all the faith-based organizations, service clubs that do good for the community, but you have to have something where the whole community, not just those entities, come together, and this is a chance where the whole community can come out. Close to my heart is the Christmas tree lighting. It's, we all know it's a time of year where you think about the past and future, and it's a sign of hope. and you watch the little ones, and it's something extra you can do for the community and watch what's going on. And it's a great event. We close down the boulevard. We have our own tree that we decorate and light the Christmas tree. It's nice. If you haven't experienced it, we do it every year around the first week of December. I highly recommend that you come and take a look. Parks and Rec program is also in charge of our transportation services, which also have been cut. And one day where they may come back and get a little longer. But we are a fixed island ride service and our bus service here in Bellflower. One new thing that's coming, it's just got up and running, is online registration for our Parks and Rec program. It's something that's going to morph into something bigger and more citywide, more departments will hook onto it. It's something, a useful tool where you can go on and schedule, join an event, and even pay for it in the future. One also nice thing is our aquatic center. We got 2 pools. We do lots of things in there. A lot of seniors come to exercise. Seniors that have bad joints, the pool will give their exercise without ruining their joints. The YMCA uses it and gets swimming lessons for the little guys. It's a very useful tool for the community. Another thing the Parks and Rec does is Bellflower Looking Better. It's a program that rotates through the city every 3 years. It's basically garage sales one day and clean up the next day. CR&R is generous to roll off bins in those quadrants throughout the year when we have them. And the items, it's spring cleaning, so to speak, that will allow the residents. It's a little giving back to the community also. Give them a chance one every 3 years you can get your garage cleaned out. Another big thing is the hazardous waste roundups. I don't know about you, but everybody has paint in their garage or something in the garage that you don't know what to do with it. You shouldn't put it in the trash. You have electronic waste. You kind of wonder what to do with it. Well, once a year, the sanitation district puts on a roundup here in Bellflower. They do it in other cities also, but we have like the second biggest one. And that's something saying to help the environment in the future. Our volunteer center, that's run out of here at Sims Park, and we have one full-time employee that manages 1,400 volunteers. 15,000 hours of volunteer work. As an employer, I know what it costs to get things done, but this is huge. I look at these numbers, is to get this much work and this much volunteer hours at no charge with the salary of one full-time employee. Cindy Van Meteren is in charge of that, and I would like to thank her once again for what she does. She does an excellent job. Next. BRIM, Bellflower Recreation in Motion. This is another thing that we brought back with Measure P. It doesn't cost a lot to do this, but it was something we had to cut in the trying times. Well, it's been brought back, relaunched last February. It's already served 4,400 little guys, I want to say big guys, residents, but yeah, they're the residents. But it's been deployed 93 times. That's Saturday and Sunday for a year. Huge. Residents on the streets will call, or churches or whatever want your program and schedule it. If you're interested in the BRIM coming to your location, you just have to make a phone call, and they'll show up. And it's basically, we've always had the equipment. We just needed to staff it with the part-time employees to do that. Finances. Of course, we couldn't do what I'm telling you here today and what I'm about to tell you without a good finance department. We do have an improved economy. We've had Measure P that was just passed, and we've had some one-time increases in revenue sources. And what I mean by that, the housing market's up, personal income's up, and unemployment is down from 13.5% down to 8.9%. And that's been going on for 5 years, and we're starting to see it. We see it in our revenues, which I'll get to you in the next slide, but this is one reason I think Bellflower is back. As you can see, the blue line is our general fund and reserves. we're at $26.5 million. If you look at 2011 and 12, we're down to just above 24 million. What an increase in just 1 year. That sounds something to be proud about. So I think we're coming in good. And as I'm going to talk to you about with these other developments coming up for the grand finale, this is part why. This is our finance department. 19 years in a row it's been awarded this award. We've had the same director all that time, Tay Ray, and he's done an excellent job. And when we tell him that we need more money to do something, somehow he pulls it off and says, okay. He's not happy about it. He never smiles, but he'll find a way to do it. But he does an excellent job in managing, and this is for reporting, and we have to report finances to a higher power, you know, state of California and the feds, and manage our grants properly. But we do an excellent job. I don't want to have a program without the finance department. Slide. There we go. Thank you. Public Works. This is like the forgotten department. It's everybody out there on the streets, working on the streets, trimming the trees, and doing the things that nobody wants. This is kind of close to me because I try to look at myself as more one of those kind of guys than the guy normally in a suit. They do the street improvements, service requests of municipal water system, and other things. We wouldn't be able to draw new business to town, make things look good, if it wasn't our Public Works department. This is what you see driving into any town. You see these, you're on the street, you're seeing their sidewalks, are they clean? You're seeing the trees, are they trimmed? Or you're seeing a road that isn't taken care of. Street improvements. You all may not know it, but every 7 years, the city pretty much gets slurry sealed. There's a lot of reconstruction going on now. If you see the roadblocks, whatever, it's because the streets have been slurry sealed so much that the crown's getting too high and they have to be ground down and reconstructed. And that's going on too. This here is a before and after. This is Bellflower Boulevard. It's a streetscape project with grant money coming to town from Flower to Oak Street. And we've looked at, over the last couple of years, looked at Bellflower Boulevard, knowing that things are coming, and I've seen, every one of you have seen how Bellflower's changed in the last year or two. We're going to be putting out more, like you see on the far side over there. This is actually in front of the substation, throughout the street, and I hate to say this, we're maybe taking some parking away, but we want to have it more pedestrian friendly, more walking traffic coming down the boulevard. And by that, we have to boost some, we call them bulb outs, and push out so you have something. Maybe a new restaurant will come in and put up a little sidewalk cafe out there. This here is the intersection. This here is the vision of what a scrambled crosswalk would work. You walk as X as an X instead of just a normal square. Okay, still putting our best foot forward. We all know that the 91 freeway, when it crosses Bellflower, needs a little work on the south side. The north side has nice date palm trees and landscaping and cleaned up and a little river walk there. But the south side doesn't. We're in the process of replacing this here. This is the south side next to the new development that's coming in on the corner. Slide with that. I wanted to believe when you come into town, usually you're coming here from a freeway, you hit the off-ramp. What you see coming off that off-ramp at the first intersection is your first impression. The first impression in this town needs to be worked on, and this is the kind of stuff that we can do to it. And again, if this stuff isn't done, people, new businesses aren't coming to town because they say, like, who would want to come here? And we know that we have a long way to go. Improving traffic flow. On the left is Virginia Street widening project. We all know, if anybody's been down that street, there's been a house in there for as far as I can remember for 50 years, right in the middle of the street. We worked with the property owner since it got vacant and basically purchased the right-of-way and demoed the house, and now it's out for bid to get, repaved. So it'll be a new sidewalk in there. And the property owner worked with us and was willing to carve the property at that time and do it. And so it worked out really well. Another widening project, Bellflower Boulevard, the old Norm Reeves site. That side of the street is going to get widened by 17 feet. There's a bottleneck there if you never noticed, but between, yeah. Well, you got to say something stupid once in a while. I guess you guys are paying attention. But anyway, 17 feet, and we couldn't do it if there was a business there. It was talked about many moons ago when there was operating business, but it couldn't have been done. And I'm going to get into why it's getting done a little later. Slide. Improving traffic flow. I guess improving traffic flow for the disabled also. You know, it's improving the disabled access for people. As we all know, the curb cutouts are not to the latest standard, and that's what we've been doing. We've been doing a lot of them. You can't do all the city at once because there's not enough money. But you just got, you got to do as many as you can, as fast as you can. Service requests. My top department is the graffiti department. And it's one of the departments that myself and my colleagues get praised most of the time. It's a department, I guess, when the resident calls and says there's graffiti here, I don't like it, the next day it's usually gone. I think it's when somebody calls City Hall and asks for something, maybe they don't think it's going to get done. But when it's done the next day, it's huge. There's a reason for the graffiti to get off as soon as possible because somebody want to outdo the other graffiti guy. But anyway, that is a department that is, works really hard and does a great job. We're very impressed. And along with the other services, they got the potholes and trees down, parking issues, and that kind of stuff. They're all, lately, it's just been submitted by the phone or emails. And now coming is a mobile app for graffiti. There's going to be a time, not in the next 2 to 6 months, I'm going to take a wild guess with that. And you'll be able to get your smartphone out and take a picture of the graffiti and send it with the app. It'll note the location, the GPS. You don't even have to do minimal typing unless you want to type who it's from or whatever, but you can just send it. I have a feeling that when that app comes out, the graffiti department is going to be a little busier because it's just easy. Municipal Water System is a water company that the city owns that has 1,800 residents. In the past years, we put in a high capacity well, and I wanted to put this only up here because of the Public Works Department is what actually monitors this thing. We're in the process and always looking to sell it. We've got a contract with Bellflower Somerset for excess water sales. We're selling it to them, plus our municipal system. But the high capacity well is capable of putting out way much more water than that. And so we're marketing it to get contracts to sell water to offset all the needed repairs for the Bellflower municipal system and their residents and some relief. Okay, reshaping City Hall is something we've done in the past year. With that, a new focus. We ended the furloughs, refilling the part-time positions, just like the BRIM I was telling you about, and refocusing the staff and reorganizing departments. Community Development Department, that's gone. We've split it into a planning and building services and added a new economic development department. Myself and my colleagues thought it was very important to start worrying about this city's economic development standards and to go out and get business, go out and try to bring something back. 5 or 6 years ago, the planning department, we've sent them out to go to these conventions, and I forget the name, International Conference for Retail or whatever it is, in San Diego. There's one in Las Vegas. 5 or 6 years ago, they went there. They didn't know who Bellflower was. Bellflower, where's that? Well, they just went to one. And the buzz in the convention is, yeah, I heard about this going on in Bellflower. I heard about this. Yeah, I know this developer. He's talking about this. It seems like all the developers know all the little secrets that no one's supposed to know because the developers are talking about Bellflower. They seem to want to come. A lot of work for the last 5 or 6 years is paying off. By the way, our economic development department just grand opening in City Hall just July 1st of this year. It's not been going on, on for very long. We're focusing the economic development department to go out and cater to developers, handhold if needed. I mean, get them going the right direction and show them. And you know what? We have stuff to show them now. Like I'm going to have to show you some stuff. We want to make sure processing the development applications go smooth and quick. Manage the building services, long-range planning. And I got it a lot. I felt it. But when you go to City Hall or whatever, it seemed like you were expecting a no. We've been changing that attitude for the last couple of years to how can we get to yes? You know, if it's maybe a no, why not yes? Part of our problem is 60% of the properties and structures are legal non-conforming. So the first thing what was going on is somebody with non-conforming property would come in and want to do a room addition, which seems reasonable, and can't do it because you have an abatement condition on this property, expired 8 years ago. You can't do nothing. We didn't think that was fair. And with that, you know, the abatement condition expired, zoning codes were causing a problem. These are all the things that would cause a problem. So we've got some goals. We want to fix the problem as soon as possible. This slide will explain it. Next slide. I'm having trouble with it, sorry. Immediate relief, I know it's hard to see, but we want to do immediate relief within a year. So if this happens, we want to get something fixed, immediate relief. Okay, now we got that going. Let's go to the short term. What can we do in 2 to 6 years? And then some fixes there for, I'm talking about the easier problems to the worst problems. And then we got long term, 6 years plus. The immediate release could extend the abatement period right now and help somebody out. Modify financial triggers, because what you're investing in your property is a remodel or an addition, triggers certain things. Short term, now we got time to amend code. Once we see this stuff coming at us, we have a chance to fix it. We see, oh, there's a pattern here. Just like in the past 5 years, we've seen a pattern of all these abatement conditions, and people couldn't do nothing with their property. Long term, that's when we go into redoing our general plan and comprehensive zoning code. Code enforcement, cleaning up blighted properties. You see the overgrown vegetation there, and now it's cleaned up. But this is the kind of stuff that code enforcement. We have to have our city look good. Goes back to that first impression that I told you about. When you come into our town, you want things, it doesn't have to be well manicured, just has to be maintained. That's, we're not asking for much, just there. Everybody remember this? This has been going on for 7, 8 years. There's the bulldozer taking a chunk out of it. And there it is today. This is a problem that the transients took over, affected a whole neighborhood, a whole block. How would you like living next to that in your backyard adjacent to that and having to run off the transients taking over that? It's a sad thing to take that away, but it wasn't going nowhere. It's been in the weather so long that it was unsafe and was red tagged and had to be taken down. And I tell you, I was on the planning commission over, I was thinking 12 years ago, talked about this, 10 years ago, okay. I happen to have a neighbor at one of my tables. I invited my neighbor, Steve, here. Well, not my neighbor, but a neighbor to this property here. Come on out, I got something to show you here. But he lived with this thing for 12 years, and it's a mess. Economic development. This is the exciting stuff. This is what I told you about the new economic development department, and what we're going to focus on in business is attracting new business, supporting our existing business, and building out from downtown out. As an elected official, and my colleagues can attest to this, we've always been asked, well, why are you putting all the money downtown? Well, we really haven't been. You just kind of notice that. We're working on the whole city. Slide. Again, who would want to invest in Bellflower? Let's find out. This is basically our model of, I like to say, when things started turning last year. HQT Homes, $7 million investment, put in 30 residential units with 2 restaurants. Myself and my colleagues and planning went out to get this project done. We had to jump through a lot of hurdles. But we couldn't build something and have somebody build something that actually had retail space that wasn't rented out. So it wasn't an accident that this place opened with two restaurants opening at the same time. We couldn't have, remove vacant buildings and have a vacant building installed. That wouldn't make sense. And we partnered with the builder and the investors on this and got this done. Belhana Sushi and Belko Korean Restaurant. I've been to both of them. They're excellent. And I recommend it highly. Slide. Here's the inside of one of those condos upstairs. If anybody's ever been upstairs at the condos, there's a open space up there. All the front doors face each other. And there's an area as big as this room up there with trees, barbecues, patios, fireplaces. It's amazing. Looks pretty nice. And here's somebody eating at the Korean barbecue restaurant. And if anybody don't know how that's done, it's each booth has a little grill at it. And they bring you the food that's prepared, and you get to cook it yourself. And don't go there for a quick meal because it's all you can eat, 3 levels, and it takes a while. You get a lot of conversation with your family or your guests that you go with because you're cooking the food waiting, so you interact more with your people that you're eating with. Great experience. All right, Beverage Depot. I like to say this is one of the nicest looking storefronts in town. If anybody's been by it, it's right next to Avalon Jewelers, and it's ready to open in March. They're going to have more than 80 craft beers and wines available, and they're wine tasting. Who would have thought we would have wine tasting downtown Bellflower? Yeah, I'm kind of a beer guy anyway. I don't get the wine part. But yeah. But anyway, Bo's Cigar Lounge. I don't smoke. That's one vice I don't have. But Bo's Cigar Lounge, and 28 square foot facility with, of course, the TVs and conference rooms, and for that kind of clientele that interact that way. It's going to be pretty much across from the Beverage Depot here, and I call it the old sewing machine store. There's been a plywood, Bellflower plywood painted mural there for quite some time, but he's taken over, and that's something. It was a redevelopment project, and it's now the state owns it, and it's, working with the state to get it. But thank you for coming to Bellflower. Cortabella. This don't look familiar. It is. This is pretty much a similar project to the one at Belmont Court here on Bellflower Boulevard. One of the investors in it built a project called Cortafina that's on Artesia and where the 3-story medical office is, Bellwood Hospital was, that site. There's a dirt lot there, just a dirt lot. This is what he's proposing to put there. Of course, it's the same building, but it won't have any retail or restaurant space in it because he has to meet his parking requirements. The reason the parking requirements are met here is the guests were assigned to the city parking. And so everybody will be parked underneath, and it'll be this project above. Beautiful. This is, of course, that'll be phase 1. Phase 2 is a conceptual drawing with a retail area just adjacent to its east property line. And we don't have the whole vision all the way through, but that Lewis Meat Market is on the other corner. And the vision is in the phases that Lewis Meat Market will circulate into this parking lot and with that little strip center there in the future. And that's the dream that this developer has for that, tie everything in. You can't do everything at once. You just got to kind of do it piece by piece. Golden Corral site, and a lot of you probably have heard. You probably heard the buzz. You've probably seen the construction going on. This is the old Donaby site, or latest Norm Reeves Used Car Super Center, adjacent to the 91 freeway and Bellflower Boulevard and Artesia. The building is in demo stage. The asbestos has just been removed. Yesterday they started stripping the wood roof off of it because you have to recycle now anything you demo. So it's coming down. Hopefully another 4 weeks it'll be a level site. That's what a Golden Corral restaurant could look like on that corner. Golden Corral restaurant, if anybody doesn't know, is a buffet type restaurant. And its parking standards are about 3 times greater than the city's, its own. think there are going to be 180 parking spaces. They are very busy. They're very excited about this site. They think they're going to break some records. The developer, the property owner, and the franchisees are all partnering together to do this $8 million project. Golden Corral has certain templates that they use for their restaurants. They're putting the biggest template on this location because they think it's going to do that well. And I think this is the project that'll finally make the corner of Artesia and Bellflower Boulevard pop. I've always been one that said you need something good coming in one little area because human nature is that you want to ride the coattails of something good, and this will be the tail, and everybody will want to come. We know, I call across the street Beirut. That looks so bad. Here's another exciting thing. This is the Franck's Cafe Camellia project. This is this is what it used to look like. Cafe Camellia to the left, and an old gas station from the 30s that was converted into a tent stereo shop. This is what it looks like today. Cafe Camellia is going on with the renovation, and Franck's just opened up. In Cafe Camellia portion, there's a door on the side of the building to spill out into outside dining for Cafe Camellia. So you'll have two restaurants with outside dining, Franck's and Cafe Camellia. In the background, that is a work-live project that was built about 5 or 6 years ago. That used to be the Bellflower Hotel. The Bellflower Hotel was not a good place. I always use it as an analogy saying that if you called for the sheriff and he was late coming to your house, it's because the sheriff was at the Bellflower Hotel. You know, I think just by getting rid of the Bellflower Hotel, our response time went down, you know. But, you know, back then it was a lot of money to get rid of that, but it was well worth it. You know, I can't say the money we're saving in the sheriff costs. But anyway, that was a big picture. This is the kind of planning that goes on. You know, yes, that was built about 5 or 6 years ago, but 2 or 3 years prior to that, it was planned to get built, and it just takes that long. And now this was an intent for the whole project, is to get buildings all built and whatnot. Slide. Here's another look at the just Franck's portion of it. It's a public-private partnership. Yeah, the city put some money in this, and it's the last redevelopment project that the city had its hands on. This money was allocated to this project many years ago, and the negotiations changed a couple times. Actually, when I did this program 3 years ago, it was a different picture. I kind of like this one better, but anyway, so the redevelopment, $750,000 went into it. That we would have lost that money, would have went back to the state if we didn't use it. It's use it or lose it kind of a thing, but we got Franck's on board and did it. So and the property owner is investing in his property too. So we have the business owner investing, the property owner investing, and the city invested. And it's a bigger part of the Bellflower has a village overlay zone. That's within that district. Anybody here don't know what the old Curly site is? What it was an old coffee shop that burned down several years ago on Alondra, kind of just up the street from the Clark Bowl that burned down also. But right on the corner of Santa Ana, I believe, Santa Ana and Alondra. It's under construction now. This is a project that they're pulling in just by right, no entitlements. It's a retail space and offices above. And this property owner saw the need and saw the future of Bellflower and to invest in it. Slide. Familiar? This is the other site that I told you that burned down, the old Clark Bowl. Been vacant for quite some time. Company called City Ventures purchased this property, and we're working in a 3-phase project, which I'll explain about. This property actually goes all the way to Santa Ana, where the new retail that I just showed you on the previous slide. So you'll have retail to retail. Here's what it will look like all the way to Duff Street. So you have that new retail at the Curly site, and this will be there with one street in the middle. So corner to corner. They purchased all the way to the corner. 67 multi-story occupied residential units, 7,000 feet of commercial space. Their front units will be a work-live type of unit with commercial. And City Ventures is planning to build a green building, a lot of solar, that kind of stuff in it. Expected groundbreaking at the end of this year. $20 million investment. You know, again, I keep going back. Who wants to invest in Bellflower? Well, somebody is. Slide. Okay. This is downtown. When I told you City Ventures was a 3-phase project, city owns a couple of lots where Oak Street terminates into the railroad tracks. And 18 new residential townhomes are going to go in there, and with access to the bike trail. And also the Clark Bowl site with the 67 condos, that's also the railroad tracks are behind it, or ex-railroad tracks. The bike trail, I got to keep remembering, bike trail and walking path. They'll have little pocket parks in the back with access to that too. Yeah. This here is the plan for downtown. The 2 brown areas down at the bottom on the lower side, it's hard to see, are where the 18 residential units are going to go. And the big deal is the red part. That's the future site of the Los Angeles County Fire Engine Museum. That there, we're planning to put a museum with a banquet facility on top, 2-story, city-owned, that will seat 300 people. So maybe 2 years from now, we'll be having this there. We will no longer have to go to Sycamore Center, City of Lakewood, to have our little meetings like this. Here's where the temporary location of the Los Angeles County Fire Engine Museum is. Great facility. It's open 1 weekend a month. If you haven't been there, I suggest you go. I'm sure you can get on their website and find out the hours they're open and go. It's beautiful. We've housed them at this site for about 10 years now. And that's a city-owned redevelopment building. And we want them to relocate downtown, but they'll always have this as for their staging area, equipment storage, and refurbishment. Okay, this here is the site of what I just told you about. It's going to get a little video here. That's the site of the Fire Engine Museum and what it looks like today. The front of it, facing Bellflower Boulevard, goes around to from the Bellflower, and it goes around to the train station. You see it there, shooting around. Little pedestrian-friendly area on the side. Back side of it, where the apparatus is going to be entered. Then we're going to park it here at the front. 12,000 square foot, 2-story building. We know where it's located, and it's to mimic the historic Los Angeles County Fire Department. That building architecture wasn't just picked out, but it got picked out for a reason. Of course, I tell you, it'd be a banquet facility there. We actually saw the need to get this project along. Seemed like the County Fire Museum, everybody's heard it was coming, but we just couldn't get any ground to make it happen. Redevelopment gone, that was another issue. Money is an issue. The Fire Engine Museum organization does an excellent job getting their sponsors, raising money, but it seemed like it wasn't going to happen until we come up with creative ideas, and that's what we did. It's a project of $4.5 million to do, and it'll probably be a little bit more than that because you know how stuff happens. I've remodeled my bathroom and kitchen in my house. I know when it says this much, it's not that. But anyway, to get to that point, City Ventures has put in $2.2 million. They're purchasing some of the street right-of-ways for those 18 condos, some lots that we have. $2.2 million is coming for City Ventures. It's already been inked out. And we do going to be selling our Flora Vista site to Los Angeles County Fire Department, and that money will go into the coffers to help build it. We've already set aside $1 million from other funds to put at this, so we're about there to get this project done. Right now, it's in the design stage of planning to see what'll fit. Another issue, the big grand plan of the Fire Engine Museum was go from the train station all the way to Oak Street. We saw that vision not possibly happening. And so at that point, we said, well, let's get something started that we can grow on and expand later, and that's what we're doing. Slide. Another neat thing is Ham Bones Barbecue Restaurant, grand opening here in downtown. Another investment of $200,000 from the owner, and wanted to add another location. Can't blame him, so he's got 2 locations. We were worried about, cannibalizing one restaurant for another, but excellent restaurant. There we go. Habitat for Humanity is coming to Bellflower. They have purchased a site, the old Huffcore site, which is about a 6-acre site on Artesia Boulevard, adjacent to the 91 freeway. They chose Bellflower for 2 reasons: freeway access, the location, and they're looking to put their corporate image somewhere. We have a national corporate image coming to Bellflower. I think that is huge for us as a destination. We have 2 reasons to be a destination: is the museum and Habitat for Humanity and Nationwide put us on the map. We partnered them with Red Mountain Retail Group, which is a development company. We want them to work together to put Habitat there. Habitat is going to need offices. We want offices to go above the retail. They were going to put their reuse store there. We want them to work together with Red Mountain to develop all the way to Lakewood Boulevard, and that's in the process right now. This here is another blighted intersection. I could call it B Route 2. This is Clark and Artesia. This site here, it's been vacant, got to be for 15 years. Nothing going on. Proposed 7-Eleven store coming. That's what that corner is going to look like shortly. 7-Eleven, and then off to the side, another little business can go in there, a retail center. So that'll be huge for that intersection. You always got to get something going on one corner, just like we're going to do the Golden Corral, and I think the rest will pop. Here's another AutoZone's coming to town. We have another dying shopping center, Woodruff and Woodruff and Rosecrans on the north side. This building will be demoed, and AutoZone will be putting a new state-of-the-art store there. Maybe that'll revive that shopping center. Slide. Medical development in Bellflower. Well, the medical industry is seeing something that we have. We have land. We have land that's probably pretty reasonable if it's blighted. And Grifols, which is an international company, chose to put a plasma center on Lakewood Boulevard. And if anybody hasn't seen it, it's about across from the McDonald's that's on Lakewood Boulevard, or the King Taco. They not only invested there, they've already purchased the property to the north to expand their parking lot, which is a blighted car lot, I believe. Kaiser Medical Services. It's 2 towers. One was built in the early 60s. It's not up to earthquake code. That will be demoed. It's the tower closest to Rosecrans. It's between the closest to the parking structure too. That'll be demoed, and Kaiser Medical offices will be there, and open space, drop-offs, walking, beautiful thing. This is what they're going to put in its place. Kaiser is doing a $10 million investment. I thought it was a bad thing when Kaiser left us to go to Downey, but the rewards have been kind of great. When it was a hospital, say it's a $30 million hospital or property value, we weren't getting any revenue or any property tax on it. But now that it's not a hospital and it's doctor's offices, it goes back on the tax rolls. We're getting property tax from this location now. We didn't know if Kaiser was going to stay or what they're going to do. Well, obviously they're going to stay. They've been remodeling, putting solar above the parking lots ever since. This is the artist rendering of what it could look like after the demo. Remodel and reinvest in Bellflower, not just new stuff. Slide. Johnny Rebs. We all know Johnny Rebs did a renovation, and an excellent one. If you drive down Bellflower Boulevard, that town just pops. This is another reason. It's not just starting over new, it's remodeling and reinvesting. Also, these are all, when I was doing this slide, it didn't say Lakewood Boulevard. I said, all these are on Lakewood Boulevard. All these have took buildings and remodeled them, and they see something in Bellflower. They want to invest in Bellflower. Not only businesses, but we have faith-based communities that actually want to invest in Bellflower. This location, the St. George Coptic Church, is on Cornuda, just north of Alondra, and it actually spans from Cornuda to Eucalyptus. You can drive through one to the other. But they just got their temporary occupancy permit to go, and it's almost done. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful church. Bellflower means business. And what I mean by that, these stats I didn't know until this morning. I've been asking for these stats for the last few days because it's something that popped in my head. I was pretty impressed, and I think you will too. We have 173 business licenses in downtown Bellflower. My question to staff was, in the last year, how many new businesses licensed did we get on Bellflower Boulevard downtown? 23. I think that is an applause that we need to give the city of Bellflower. But citywide, 640 new businesses in the last 2 years, licenses, and 257 just this year. This is the reason I say Bellflower's back. I think at the time that we're not, we get beat up for not business friendly, we must be doing something right. This is a lot of business coming in 1 year to the city. And I have a feeling that this is just the beginning. So again, I always say, well, who would want to invest in Bellflower? Recent investments in the city total more than $60 million. That's a lot of money coming in. And when you invest, property tax goes up, we get a bigger piece of the cut of the property tax. So who would want to invest in Bellflower? We do. And clearly we're not alone. I want to thank everybody for this, putting up with me and coming here, but it's actually exciting to be here and to be able to talk about where Bellflower is going in the future. Thanks again. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for getting time on your day. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You bet.